Okay, hopefully that will be okay. Yes, man, he said that the stream is fine. So, yeah, I think just change the settings. But we are back. And it is Lewis, we just missed that for a brief moment, who retakes the provisional pole position spot on a 1 minute 16.3. And these times are now starting to ramp up as the track gets a little bit more rubbered in. Lewis with a great lap of 1 minute 16.3 out-qualifies Marty. Now it's going to be up to Pink Eye as he slots back into the pits. Crossing the line now into the pits. I think it will be the McLaren driver of, it's going to be Pink Eye. Right, now jumping back, I think that is going to be the Alfa Romeo of Lewis, only on his way back to the pits. What about Malthreads as he makes his way into the second sector now, going into turn 7. Is it going to be flat out through 8, through 9? It's all about precision, pinpoint precision through the S sector. If you run a little bit too wide or too narrow, you might risk losing a lot of time. As we know, goes into the hard braking zone, going into turns 12, attacks the apex on entry and exit into turns 13 he goes now. Cruises through 15, 16, and now it's going to be flat out through turn 17, your final corner, with a little bit of wheel spin. The lap did look extremely quick, but I think Malthreads, who just misses out on provisional pole position, he got a little bit too eager on that throttle, and he dropped to P4. Was a good time, but now Xantatus, second in the championship, puts together a 1 minute 15.8, and these times are certainly wrapping up tremendously now as Modris, he goes out for a new qualifying lap right about now. But what a great lap that was from Xantatus, just getting out of the way of a couple of cars, and Zorro retires from this session. Does that mean that he will start at the back of the grid? Now making his way into the third sector, it will be Stead, who's currently sat in P8 in that Alpine, as he now makes his way into turns 13. He's going to cruise into 14. He's got a lot of wheel spin, and that will definitely compromise his time. Will he abort this lap, or will he try to go into the pits? Yes, he definitely goes into the pits after having a little bit of a moment into the very tricky stadium section of this racetrack. It's going to be accuracy that's going to determine who's going to win this Grand Prix, especially through the stadium section. As Kirst now makes his way down into turn 16 and turn 17, DRS will be activated. It's foot to the floor, up the gears he goes, and he starts for a new flyer. 4.5 minutes remaining of this qualifying session. The Haas driver of Kerry Cass, who's improving by almost more than half a second already, is P12 at the moment. Make that P8. Kerry Cass puts in a 1 minute 17.4, and he moves up the order. What about Marv? Only good enough for P7. So at the moment, it's going to be a Red Bull 1-7 start. The Ferrari driver of Upcar, who was in provisional pole once upon a time, now currently sat in P9, crosses the finish line, does improve by 0.3 of a second, a 1 minute 17.3. And these times in the midfield is very close. As you can see, Marv 1.4, Loki 1.43, Utkar 1.4, and it's almost at less than half a tenth separating P7 from P9. And this track is certainly getting well rubbered in, and these times are dropping. Going to the Mercedes of Kirst, no improvements this time around, as he's 1.3 seconds down on up on his time already. So this is not going to be an improvement from Kirst. He's going to have to go back into the pits, slap on a brand new set of softs, and go out once more. Right on his rear, it will be the Haas driver of, I think it will be Kerry Cass, only about to make his way back into the pits. The Red Bull driver and the Ferrari driver still on track, and that's going to be Marv. You can see him lifting on the throttle, so that will definitely not be an improvement. What about Utkar? He's up on his time by 1/10. This is not an improvement, but now anything can happen through the stadium section where you need to be very accurate. He gets onto the throttle very cautiously, and I think he will jump into the pits as he did run out of battery. As he does, he will go for a brand new set of rubbers to get his last flyer. If there will be enough time, only almost 2.5 minutes left of this qualifying session. The only car out on track at the moment will be the Williams driver of Dairy, only out on his outlap. So as we now wait for all drivers to make their way out on track, It will be Pinkai making his way out of the garage, currently sat in P6. Can Pinkai have anything to say and maybe improve this time to get himself up the order, because he's currently 1.2 seconds off the pace of Xantadas, and Xantadas did overtake Pinkai in the Drivers' Championship. Xantadas on 93 points, Pinkai on 90. These two drivers are separated by no more than 3 points. Marty's still leading, but if Xantadas can win this race, he will be the new drivers' leader for this championship in PVR Season 1. As we now switch back to Dairy, just backing out a little bit. Is that just to get a little bit of wheel spin to put temperatures into those tires? Very cautious as he goes into turn 16. It's going to be flat out. Through turn 17, he takes it very, very wide to get as much acceleration and speed as he possibly can, going down the 0.75 mile straight. You can see him getting into the toe of the Ferrari driver, gets out of the toe. Will that gain him a couple of tenths? Only time will tell. He goes hard into the first braking turn of turns 1. Now into the chicane section, where acceleration will be crucial. Attacks the apex on entry and exit. A little bit cautious on the throttle, but now down the second DRS straight. He goes. It's a rush going into turns 4 and turns 5. Hard on the brakes once more for this almost looping left-hander. Sweeping to the right once more. He does run wide. It's not crack invalidation, but he will have lost time. Now around the hairpin section of turn 6. Now it's up the rush. Just dab on the brakes. Now it's going through 7. Attack the apex on entry, exit. Down through 8. Flat out through 9. What about 10? Just lifts on the throttle ever so slightly. Flat out through 11 as well. Now with the assistance of DRS, it's a sprint going down into turns 12. Hard on the brakes, drops to 5th gear, drops to 4, back onto the throttle. Now it's going to be through turns 13 and turns 14. Takes that beautifully. What a great line that was. A little bit of wheel spin. Now going into 16, the penultimate corner, and it's going to be flat out with a little bit of an assistance from the Ferrari in front of him. Dairy stays P5. Wasn't the best of laps, but it was an improvement, and he will start this Grand Prix in P5. That's his qualifying over. Going to the Mercedes driver of course now, and this is improving on his time, but he's really down the order on 1. He's really down the order at the moment. He's currently sat on a 1 minute 17.8, and he's going to need to make up tremendous time into the third sector if he wants to get that Mercedes up the order. Now making his way into 16, the penultimate quarter. Get onto the throttle as soon as possible. Runs a little bit too deep, makes contact with the barrier, and that will not be an improvement. Kirst will start this Grand Prix in P13. Now making his way through the final corner is Pinkai, who invalidated, and he will stay P6. What about the Alfa Romeo of True Loki? He goes quick enough for P8. Marty, championship leader, crosses the line, and that's no improvement from him. He stays P3. The Haas driver crossing the line. What about Xantadas? Will he improve on his time? Crosses the finish line. He does go quicker on a 1 minute 15.8, putting more than 5 tenths between him and P2. The only driver that can deny him pole will it be Marv or will it be Dairy? Dairy down on his time. What about Marv? This will not be an improvement, and that's qualifying done and dusted. Xantadas, second in the championship, 2-time race winner in PVR. He starts from the front row of this grid with Lewis keeping him company on the first row of the grid. Marty, championship leader, will have to do everything in his might to try and battle Xantadas, because if Xantadas wins this Grand Prix, he will be the new leader of the championship down in PVR. It's going to be do or die. Who's going to win the Mexican Grand Prix? The only driver who has won 2 Grand Prix, Xantadas, winning in Singapore, winning in Netherlands, and the rest of the drivers, Stinjap winning in Silverstone, Pinkai winning in Australia, Bacardi who won Miami, Name Changer who won Monza, Zorro who managed to win the Qatar Grand Prix, Marty, your championship leader, won down in Austria, and J-Horse who won in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be do or die. Marty versus Xantadas. Pinkai starting in P6. Let's go to your final classifications for qualifying. Xantadas, second in the championship, trying to hunt down the lead holder that's being held by Marty at the moment. He starts in pole position. Lewis slots home in P2, followed by Mari and Malthreads. Start on the second row of the grid. Dairy and Pink Eye occupies the third row of the grid, followed by Marvis and Bacardi on the fourth row. True Loki and Utkar, they'll be starting on the fifth row of this grid, followed by Carrie Cass and Stead occupying the sixth. Kirsten Zorro will be starting from the back of the pack. It's going to be do or die. And who's got the pace to put that car on the top step of the podium once more? We will be back very, very shortly with the start of this Grand Prix. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a very, very wet track, and this will really make things interesting around this 2.67 mile circuit with 17 corners, 10 to the right and 7 to the left. It's going to be an 890 meter run from the grid into the first corner. Who's going to get into the slip? Who's going to get into the toe? Who's going to be brave going into turns one on this slippery, wet track? It's raining down in Mexico, and anything can happen as we wait for the drivers just to reset these strategies. Maybe just give a few clicks extra on the downforce, on the front wings. We are moments away from seeing the cars lined up on the grid and those 5 lights going out to start season 1, round 10. We have 1, 2. Oh, we have a formation lap. I didn't expect that to happen. All right, so going through the track layout. So we got an 890 meter run from the first corner down, from the grid into the first corner. Turn 1 will take the engine screaming into this first 90-degree right. Turns 2 and turns 3 is a very short burst of acceleration into the left. Not quite as sharp as turn 1, but then it's followed by the mirrored turn right. Turns 4 and turns 5 is onto the power down the back straight, and the second DRS, of course they will not be DRS because it is raining. Hit the brakes hard again for this left to right section. Turn 6 is the short burst of power into this tight double right bend. It's impossible to clip the inside curb and nail both exits. Then onto the tricky section where downforce will be key, through to turn 7, 8 and 9. Brake for the first part of these lefts, but quickly back onto the power and then full throttle back as the track keeps flowing left to right, left to right. Not in the rain, that is. They're going to have to lift on throttle just that little bit more. Going into turns 10 and 11. Now brake for this right curve. It's going to be flat out in qualifying, but not as flat in the race, and especially not into the rain. Down a short burst of the third DRS. It's going to be turns 12. A short straight and a 90-degree to right-hander that leads you into turns 13, now heading down into the stadium section, beginning with this very tight hairpin, almost bringing the drivers back onto themselves. Into turns 14 and 15, acceleration is crucial. Quickly going into this right curve with a very minor left adjustment to go between the stands and exit the stadium. Turn 16, fair right for the curve coming onto the road. That forms the infamous swooping right-hand corner of turn 17. A final right kink back onto the main straight. And then the drivers will go 0.75 miles down the blistering straight. It's going to be waiting for these cars to line up on the grid. It's Marty, championship leader, starting in P3. Xantadis, second in the championship, starting on pole position. And that is no strange sight for Xantadis. He's got tremendous pace, and he's showing the grid what he's made of as we now wait for the final driver of Zorro to slot into his grid box. We are moments away from seeing those 5 lights go out. It's going to be a very, very wet Mexican Grand Prix as all drivers go for the intermediate tires. The grid is set. The race is about to start. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I hope you guys are ready for this, because in the rain, in Mexico, we are racing. And who got the better start? It seems as though Marty got a flyover start, already getting past Lewis, and now it's going to be head-to-head. Xantadis versus Marty. It's the championship. The two championship rivals going at it. Now Xantadis and Marty giving each other enough space to fight. Marty gets a little bit of wheel spin. Xantadis has the inside. Marty retakes it into the chicane section. What about Xantadis? He goes off. The second in the championship goes off, and he's got damage. Will there be questions? Will there be queries as Xantadis drops to the back of the grid after making contact with Marty? Marty leading the Grand Prix. Lewis right on his rear, followed by Malthreads, Dairy, and Pink Eye, who started in P6, already up into P5. Marv goes P6, Bacardi P7, Cursed, what a start from him. Starting at the back of the grid, already up into P8, and Zorro, we all know he's got some tremendous pace, already up into P10. Where is Xantatus? He's limping right at the back, 4/10 behind Stead, and it seems as though he does have damage on that Red Bull. Does this mean he will need to make an early pit stop? As we now goes into turns 13 and turns 14, Marty leading the Grand Prix, but the stewards might be active. Will there be queries as he goes into turn 16? In the wet, acceleration will be crucial as he now makes the way onto the 0.75 mile straight. Lap 1, done and dusted. 35 more laps of action to go. Lewis already almost 1 second down the road, followed by Malthreads, followed by Dairy. Down the road, Carrie Cass having a little bit of a battle with Marv as Marv loses out on Carrie Cass. Kirst really to try to put the pressure on Bacardi. Takes a beautiful line going into the first corner now. Runs a little bit too narrow to get beautiful traction and acceleration out of the corner. And you have to take that corner as wide as possible to ensure you get beautiful acceleration going down the back straight. Zorro already retiring from this race in P14. Now Bacardi runs a little bit wide. It opens up the door for Kirst. Bacardi going off track will have to concede that position. Where is Kirst? He goes up into P6. True Loki trying to get into this battle with Kirst and Bacardi. You can see that he's trying to get this overtake done. Bacardi seems to be struggling for pace because Kirst has already almost put a second between him and Bacardi. True Loki now trying to attack the long way around, going into turns 12. Bacardi, True Loki runs a little bit wide. He just has to wait that little bit longer before trying to get past Bacardi. Going down the rest of the order, we did see that Xantatus, second in the championship, he did pit for a new front wing, a new set of intermediate tires, and he's a long, long way down the road. 29 seconds off the pace of Stead. And how many seconds will that be from race leader? 41 seconds, Xantatus. Will he have enough time to get back up into the points as Marv goes at it with none other than Carrie Cass? Up the order we go. Marty still leading the Grand Prix, followed by Lewis, a new driver that I have not seen driving, doing a phenomenal job in P2. Malthreads currently sat in P3, and Pink Eye trying to look for the overtaking opportunity. Pink Eye gets beautiful traction out of these sweeping corners, now into the tight bend of turn 6. Aggressive on the throttle. He's trying to get this overtake done. Now going into 7, 8, 9, 10. It's not going to be as flat out as qualifying trim, nor if it would have been a race. And will we see clear skies before the end of this race? That would be interesting to see if there would have been more pit stops and drivers being forced to go into the pits. As True Loki now on the back of Bacardi. Bacardi seems to have upped the pace a little bit. He was a second down the pace of Kirst. Now back up into P7 and almost in touching distance of Kirst. Runs a little bit wide once more. True Loki and Utkarsh, he's also joining in this fight. So True Loki is being sandwiched in by two Ferraris. Down the road we have Carrie Cass, who's trying to make the move on Marv. Let's see who got the better traction. Oh, there you have it. And Marv has a little bit of a spin around, and he needs to get that car moving very fast, or we will serve a disqualification for blocking the pit entry. He needs to get, I think he does go into the pit, and that's the smartest thing he could have done, because if he stood there for a little bit longer, he would have blocked the entry to the pit lane and served a disqualification. The virtual safety car is out because of that, and where is Xantatus? Only making his way down into the final corner right about now. It's going to be Marty leading this Grand Prix, but there will be questions and queries with the contact made between him and Xantatus. Marv now making his way out of the pits and Xantatus down the pit straights. Virtual safety car is in. And there is a couple of gaps forming out on track. It's Marty 1.8 clear from Lewis, who's 2 seconds clear from Malfreds. Pink Eye right on his rear. Cursed 5, almost 6 seconds down the pace of Pink Eye. And Bacardi now again upping the pace, as we have seen on the lap before. He's back up into touching distance with Cursed, as the virtual safety car is about to end in a moment's notice. Not too sure how long the virtual safety car will still be out, but it should disappear in a brief moment's time. Does Marty make use of the virtual safety car? No, he doesn't. And I think it's a smart move from Marty, because the virtual safety car should not be active for much longer. And there you have it. We have green lights once more, and we are back under racing conditions. Now, where is Pink Eye? He's still 3/10 down the road, but dumping battery all the way, and he does make the overtake stick going into one. Malfreds has to back out, and Pink Eye gets the position. He's back up into the podium positions. This will be crucial for Pink Eye with his fight between Xantatus, because he needs to try and stick with Marty for as long as possible and not be too eager for the overtake, because if Marty gets a penalty with that contact with Xantatus, it means that if he can overtake Lewis, he will win this Grand Prix. And I think, no, he will not be back in the championship lead. No, he won't. Going back to back of the pack, it is Xantatus who did make the overtake stick on Derry. Now next up the road, it will be Stead. He's got 23 seconds between him and Stead, and he's got 39 seconds between him and Marty. So he is catching up to the race leader. 2 laps ago, that gap was 41 seconds to the race leader, now down to 39. He is catching, but I'm afraid it's not by enough. Xantatus is desperately going to need a safety car. We go back up the order. It's Marty, Lewis, back up into striking distance. Pink Eye 1.9 seconds down the road. Malfreds slowly but surely falling off the pace, followed by Bacardi 8 seconds down the road now, and he's really being hunted by Kirst. Missed the overtaking opportunity. Bacardi got back up into P5, overtaking Kirst. Next up the road, it's gonna be True Loki for Kirst. As we have entered the 6th lap of this Grand Prix. Is the rain going to get that much lighter, and will we see clear conditions? Only time will tell. Kirst gets a beautiful acceleration off the line, and now he's hunting down Bacardi. New fastest lap. Once again goes to Xantatus on a 1:29.1. The gap between him and Stead now dropping to 22 seconds. So he is catching Stead. How far from the leader? That gap of 39 now changed to 38 seconds. Back up the order. It's going to be Malfreds. Oh, hanging on. Did True Loki have a little bit of a moment there? It seems as though he might have. He lost out to Utkar. Stead battling it out with Kerry Cass, who's currently occupying P9 in this race. Stead trying to find an overtaking opportunity to get past Kerry Cass, because he is losing time. Now Pink Eye. That gap of 2 seconds down to 1.7 seconds now. He is gaining. Going to the lap times. 30.3. Just missed the rest. So Marty put in a 1:30.3. And I'm very eager to see what lap time Xantatus will be putting up. So we will be spectating this just to see by how much Xantatus is catching around every single lap. As he makes his way going into turns 13. Slight correction being made. A little bit of oversteer made into turns 13, 14. Now he's going to be cruising into 16, and he's going to be flat out through 17, as Derry is now right on his rear. A 1:30.3, a 1:29.8, even though he did make a couple of mistakes. Now going down, I see it's going to be True Loki versus Utkar, as True Loki and Utkar is going wheel to wheel at it. Who's going to have the inside line? He's just getting boxed in, True Loki, and I don't think he's going to make that overtaking opportunity stick. Will he? No, yes he will. So that's great racing from True Loki. He was boxed in due to being stuck behind Kirst. And just look at this DRS, well, not a DRS train, as Derry retires from the race and Xantatus has been saved. He will now catch up to the back of the pack, and he will be back in striking distance. Not what Marty, Lewis, and Pink Eye would have wanted. But now it's Merry Christmas to Xantatus. He can get himself right back into this race after Derry had a brief moment and made contact with the barriers. He's out of this Grand Prix. Now, who's going to go into the pits? Malfreds decides that he is going to make use of this safety car period and he's going to pit. What about Bacardi? He decides that he wants track position. What about Kirst? Stays out. But True Loki, he decides it's time for new intermediate tires. Goes into the pits, followed by Carrie Cass. Malfreds. Now what will he do? Will he go for that one lap, all intermediates that he started the race with, or will he stick to the 5-lap all inters? I believe that he does have the pace and he does not need to make a pit stop, but he is going to make use of the safety car period. He's going to put on those new set. I think it is a new set of intermediates. He does have 3 sets to his disposal. And there you have it. Those tires, 0 laps of age, a brand new set of intermediates, and that is going to take him a long, long way. Marty, Lewis, Pink Eye, Bacardi, Kirst, Utcar, Stead, all on 7-lap old intermediate tires. Xantatus still in P11, but now he will no longer be 36, 38 seconds down the race leader. He will rejoin, back up the pack, and now see how quickly he can advance his way through the pack and re-challenge the boys out in front. Going to your position changes, Marty gaining 2 positions. Lewis, exactly where he started. Pink Eye gaining 3 positions after qualifying in P6. Bacardi up 4. Kirst, what a race from him. Up 8 positions. Utcar up 4. Stead up 5. Malfreds, one of the biggest losers of the session thus far, drops 4 positions. True Loki starting where he's, currently where he started. Caricas gaining 1 position. And unfortunately for Xantatus, on the first lap, making contact with Marty, drops 10 positions. And Marv dropping 5 after starting in P7. As we now wait for the drivers to catch up to the pack. We will be back under racing conditions in a moment's time. And I will be right back. Hy is. So, Bacardi decides that he will go into the pits for, is that a set of hard compound tires? I believe that is a set of hard compound tires. I do not see the rain easing up at all. So was that a little bit of a mistake from Bacardi, opting for the set of hards? The rain briefly still falling down here in Mexico, and Bacardi, as you can see, running a little bit wide, and Utkarp, a 5-second penalty with this collision, with, I think that was cursed. Is this track going to start drying up? Will we see Bacardi go back into the pits for a new set of intermediates? Because I don't think this track is ready for the slicks. So the safety car will be in by the end of this lap. And we will be spectating Marty from the perspective of Lewis to see when he will get us back under racing conditions. And what about Bacardi? What will he be doing on those set of hards? I think he will be well off the pace. Now Marty will need to get beautiful acceleration out of the penultimate corner, because if Lewis sticks with him, he will be very vulnerable. It's a 0.75 mile straight. And I think he will wait until the last before he gets us back under racing conditions. No, he doesn't. We are back under racing, and he does get beautiful acceleration. He's already 6/10. No, now it's going to be Lewis, who is dumping on battery. He's in the slip, he's in the toe, and now gaining on Marty, but Marty making use of that battery pack. Pink Eye not being hunted by Curse, but look at the pace of Malthreads going wheel to wheel with Stead, and Willie will have the inside line. What about Bacardi? He's still on those set of hards. But now, Malthreads on the inside makes contact, a little bit of contact with Stead, and it's a new drag race going down the back straight. Curse versus Malthreads. It's a drag, and a lot of other drivers looking at the perspective from Stead and True Loki, who wants a little bit of this action himself. He's got the inside line on Stead. He's pushed wide by Stead. Stead runs wide. Loki still has the inside. Going into turn 6. Now it's a hunt down to turn 7, and True Loki does get the position. He's up into P6. What about the rest of the pack? Look at Utkarp and Bacardi, a long way down. It doesn't seem as though the rain is falling, so will this track slowly but surely start to dry up now? True Loki with a new penalty, as he also got past Cursed. True Loki is absolutely flying, now putting the pressure on Malthreads. Xantatus with a great restart, already battling it out for P8. Next up the road will be Stead. But take a bow, True Loki, who got an absolute great restart. He's up into P5. True Loki up 4 positions. So when the safety car came out, he was in P9. 1 lap after the restart, he finds himself in P5. Stead and Xantatus are going at it down the main straight, down the back straight. It's going to be Stead versus Xantatus. Stead will have the inside line, but Xantatus is late on the brakes. He's brave, he's bold, and that's what happens. You get rewarded. He moves up into P6. Now Utkarp and Stead going at it. Stead is being hunted down by a lot of these drivers. You can see those brakes on that Alpine is blistering hot as he's trying to defend for all his might. He had to defend against True Loki, against Xantatus, but he was a sitting duck, and Xantatus already putting 1.5 seconds between him and Stead. Utkarp really putting the pressure on him, and up the order we have Lewis. Oh, we have Marty, who spun around. Marty, he's not the race leader anymore, rejoins the track. 3-second time penalty. Lewis, he leads the Grand Prix, going into turn 17 right now, starting the 13th lap. Lewis is the new leader of the race, but for how long? Because Pink Eye is gaining, and once more the Papaya Orange is in the front of this Grand Prix. Pink Eye retakes the lead of the race, and he's leading for the first time. Marty runs wide once more, Malthreads goes into P3. Marty losing out on P1, 2, 3, and now up into 4. Down the road from him is a very aggressive True Loki, who's really seeming to up the pace in this Mexican Grand Prix. Take a bow, Lewis. Take a bow, Pink Eye. But Marty, championship leader, with a little bit of wheel spin, he has to concede 3 positions. What's going on down the order? A lot of cars seem to be pushing each other. It's going to be Carrie Cass running a little bit wide and opens up the door for Marv, who takes P9. The Red Bull driver goes up into P9. Next up the road, it's going to be Kurst, who seems to be dropping and limping for pace at the moment. Bacardi is still a long way down the road. And he still is on those hard set of compound tires. Pink Eye is being hunted. Marv and Carrie Cass are still going at it. I think Carrie Cass will have the inside line, but no. Marv will stay in P9. He has to run wide, and that's not his fault for track limits. That is taking evasive action. Marv has to give that position back, I believe. It's going to be a drag, but he's got his nose in front, his Carrie Cass. He pushes that ass up into P9. Get in, Carrie Cass. The track is slowly but surely drying out. We can see the sun reflecting on the racetrack. And I think these times will now start dropping like a rock. Malthreads putting the pressure on Lewis. It's going to be a drag between Lewis and Threads, as Lewis still has the inside line. Almost makes contact with Pink Eye. Runs wide. Takes evasive action. Threads has got the inside line. And Lewis has to concede. Malthreads is really upping the pace. Marty in P4 and True Loki still sticking with him for all his might. But closing in like a rocket on a mission. Second in the championship, Zan Tatus, who made contact with Marty on lap 1, had to drop to the back of the pack. He was 41 seconds down the pace of the race leader. He managed to close that gap to 38 seconds. Luckily was saved by a safety car. He's back up into P6 and right on the rear of the 5 cars, battling it out for who will win the Mexican Grand Prix as Pink Eye goes around the final corner, who's being hunted by Malthreads. And before we even start the next lap, Malthreads is the new leader of the Grand Prix, but Pink Eye comes right back at him. We have yellow flags, and I think that's Marv who went around once more. Malthreads was leading this Grand Prix for a brief moment, but Pink Eye, dumping battery all the way, retakes the lead of the race. Pink Eye still on 60% battery. Malthreads, he's limping. He's only on 6%, which will make him vulnerable from Lewis. He's got 63. Loki limping on 7. And Marty on 24% battery. What about Xantatus? He's playing it cautiously. He's got 50% to his disposal. Marty lost out on yet another position from a blistering quick True Loki. And where has this pace been? We haven't seen this much fight from True Loki in a long time. Can he keep it up? For 21 more laps of this, Loki is absolutely flying down in Mexico. Xantatus now putting the pressure on his championship rival, Marty. While Pink Eye is leading the Grand Prix, Malthreads really sticking with him, but Malthreads on 22% battery takes a great line, an absolute beautiful line. He gives Pink Eye enough space to fight with. Malthreads did get better acceleration off the line, but Pink Eye, 73% battery versus Malthreads, who's now dumping for all his might. He will be vulnerable. He will be very vulnerable. Pink Eye making use of his battery, retakes the lead of the race. It's going back and forth as Marty and Xantatus goes at it. And Xantatus, he'll feel great about that one. And how's that for a little bit of karma? He feels he was undone for in the first lap. Marty making contact with him spinning, getting front wing damage. And now he gets to overtake Marty on track, and I think he will be smiling in that Red Bull all the way to the bank. He's back up into P5. Next up the road will be True Loki. Pink Eye leading this Grand Prix on 60% battery. Malthreads on 22% of his disposal. Lewis still sticking with him. Loki is looking good for Alfa Romeo. But here comes Xantatus on through Loki, who made a mistake. Loki will go a little bit late on the brakes, but going a little bit wider is Xantatus, and he goes up into P4. What a great drive that is from Xantatus. A great recovery drive. Marty stuck in P6. Xantatus, he's up the gears, foot to the floor, he's in the toe, he's in the slip. Malthreads putting the pressure on Pink Eye. But Pink Eye using that battery very effectively and very, very smart. Malthreads on 11% battery to his disposal. He's struggling to get past a blistering quick Pink Eye, who will be desperate to win this Grand Prix and keep his championship fights alive. After having to concede 4 P6 in Abu Dhabi, who was clipped and spun out 4 laps before the end of the race, as he almost does again, and the commentator's curse almost strikes again. He gets bad acceleration. It opens up the door for Malthreads, who's got the inside line. And before they even go into turn 7, Malthreads will lead the Grand Prix. Pink Eye will have to be cautious going into 7. Malthreads is leading the Grand Prix, but he's limping on battery. Pink Eye makes another mistake. He loses out to Lewis. Lewis goes around the inside. He's back up into P2. Now it's going to be more championship rivals. Pink Eye versus Xantatus. Lewis goes up into P2, and Loki still able to stick with the pace of these guys in front. Where has this pace been? Loki getting what an absolute beautiful drive from the man at Alfa Romeo. Marty is struggling for all his might, and I wonder, does that AlphaTauri have a little bit of damage? Instead, 8.6 seconds down the road, Bacardi opting to pit for a brand new set of mediums. And is it now time for the sleek compound tires? The track has had time to dry out a little bit, but is it time for slick tires? Malthreads almost a second in front. Lewis being hunted down by Pink Eye, cursed with a new fastest lap. Lewis still stuck in P3, and Xantatus all over the rear of Lewis. Will Lewis lose out on this podium that he's desperately fighting for? Having a great drive. Bacardi with a 10-second time penalty for cutting corners, and I think he's struggling on those set of slick tires. The strategy down at Ferrari not working. Malthreads now gets a 3-second time penalty. Pink Eye is dropping off the pace. 1.6 seconds off the pace of Malthreads. And this race has been exchanging leads for so many laps. Lewis will be in the hunt for P2. Pink Eye on 35% battery. Lewis on 90% battery. He will be very vulnerable, Pink Eye, because now he's up the gears. Foot to the floor. Pink Eye is dumping battery for all his might. Lewis will run out of straight, but Pink Eye using that battery, very smart, not dumping all the way. And I think Lewis is just waiting for his overtaking opportunity to get back into P2. Xantatus struggling a little bit to get the move done on Lewis, who seems to be that much quicker than the rest of the pack. What about Marty? Marty decides that he did go into the pits for a brand new set of intermediate tires. So this track, although it is not raining, is definitely not ready for brand new slicks. With 7 laps, fresher tires, Malthreads will have the advantage over Pink Eye. But now the question, when will Pink Eye and Lewis decide that they will go into the pits for a brand new set of rubbers? Which means drivers who did go into the pits, like Xantatus and Loki, of course, are in a dominating position. Bacardi decided that he wanted to go for the medium and hard compound tires, and that strategy did not work out for him. He lost out on a lot of positions due to going on slicks a little bit too early, and that's why Bacardi, fourth in the championship, is currently sat in P12, and he's a long way down already. 1 minute 11 seconds down the race leader. Pink Eye is being hunted down by Xantators, who got the move done on Lewis. Just missed that overtake, but he is on 7-lap fresher tires, and Xantators will now, next up the road for him will be Pink Eye. We have 16 laps of racing remaining, as Marty is now going wheel-to-wheel foot car, and he makes the position stick with Kerry Cass, and he makes the position stick. Malthridge will have to up the pace because he is sitting with that 3-second time penalty. The only drivers without penalties thus far will be Pink Eye, Xantators, Lewis, and Stead. What does the penalty count look like? It's gonna be 3 seconds for Malthridge, 6 seconds for True Loki, 5 seconds for Utcar, 3 for Marty, 6 for Cass, 3 for Chris, and 10 seconds for Bacardi. The times are starting to drop. Malthridge put up the fastest lap, followed by Xantators, who did get the fastest lap. Now Bacardi with a new 3-second time penalty. He's in the slip, he's in the tow, but he's limping for battery. Will he try and make the overtake on Pink Eye? No, he won't. Both Pink Eye and Xantators are equal on battery. Pink Eye runs a little bit narrow, he gets oversteer, and he opens up the door beautifully for Xantators, and he gets better acceleration off the line. And I think before they go into turns 4, Xantators will have taken the position. He's up into P2. Pink Eye has to concede. We do have yellow flags, and I think that will be no. But the race still going on. Malthridge still leading the race. 1.9 seconds is the gap between him and Xantators. And if Xantators can stick with him, which I believe he might, he will be in contention to win this Grand Prix, because Malthridge is sitting with a penalty. What a race from True Loki. Currently sat in P5. But he has to deal with that 6-second worth of time penalties. Spectating the lap times now. Malthridge versus Xantators. Let's see who is putting up the faster race laps as Lewis gets a new penalty. It's a 1 minute 28.8, followed by a 1 minute 28.4. So Xantators is catching by 0.4 of a second around that last lap. Pink Eye, 0.8 down the road, making use of that battery. They still equal on battery. Lewis sticking with the boys, and True Loki slowly but surely now starting to drop off the pace. And I haven't seen rain for quite some time. It is still overcast conditions. When will this track be ready for the slicks? Marty, hard on the brakes, has a little bit of a lockout on the fronts, and now up on the road, it's gonna be Stead. He's gonna have to catch Stead to get that car up into P6. He's currently leading the championship, but as things stand at the moment, Xantators will be the new championship leader of Season 1. Stead gets a little bit of wheel spin. It does open up the door for Marty beautifully as Marty takes that inside line, and see you later, he says to Stead, as you'll see that Alpine now slowly but surely disappearing as Marty is on 3-lap old intermediate tires versus 21-lap old intermediate. Stead will not be able to keep up with the pace. Lewis and Pink Eye still going at it. 7-lap fresher tires will be Malthridge, Xantators, and they are really starting to up the pace. How many laps will it be before these two drivers decide that they will go into a pit for a new set? Surely these tires cannot go the distance, but we have seen stranger things happen before. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. DRS has now been activated, instead jumping into the pits for a brand new set of mediums that will go the distance. So expect these times to wrap up lap after lap after lap. And this is working out beautifully now. Did Marty decide to pit a little bit too early on those sets of all intermediate tires? Santator's really upping the pace, and now you will see every single driver jumping into the pits. Marv already on the mediums, Kerry Cass on mediums, Utkar and Stead onto mediums. And surely the drivers will have to go for a set of mediums, because the softs, 13 laps is a little bit too long for a stint on the soft compound tires, even though they are new and the cars are a little bit lighter on fuel. So I expect to see everybody going for a brand new set of mediums. Zantators opts for the mediums. What about Pink Eye? Mediums going on. What about Malthreads? Lewis serving that penalty. Mediums going on. Malthreads on a new set of mediums. What about True Loki? Opts for the mediums. Marty going into the pits, and he will definitely go for a set of medium tires. The only driver yet to pit will be Bacardi and Kirst. And now is the time. 12 laps of racing remaining. Who's got the pace to take P1? Malthreads still leading this Grand Prix by 1.2 seconds over Zantators. Pink Eye in P3 at the moment. Where's Marty? Making his way down the main straight. He's currently occupying P6. He's 13.4 seconds down the road of the race leader. Will that be enough time for him to catch up with 12 laps remaining and the quality of drivers that are in front of him? He's got the likes of Loki, Lewis, Pink Eye, Zantators, and Malthreads. And none of these drivers are any strangers to the podium positions. Marty has got a lot of work, but can he do it? Bacardi opting for the soft compound tire. Bacardi making his Malthreads making his way into 15, cruising into 16, and now it's back onto the throttle as he will blast his way down the main straight to start the 25th lap of this Grand Prix. And now, who will take the fastest lap of this race? Everybody on the set of mediums except for Bacardi. 1.5 seconds down the road from Malthreads is Zantators, who's being hunted down by Pink Eye. Lewis 1.6 down the road, and True Loki 7.4 seconds down the road. Slowly but surely, just falling off the pace of these front runners. But I think that he was stuck in the pits behind his teammate, because it was double stacking down at Alfa Romeo. Marv with a new fastest lap of a 1 minute 23.8. And this will change every single lap from here on out. Pink Eye is in touching distance of Zantators. And can he just stick with him and get himself a little bit of a helping of DRS? He does have DRS this time around, but it's a very short run going into turn 12. Hard on the brakes for this 90-degree right-hander. He's still in touching distance. He's still got DRS, slightly falling out of the range of DRS. Zantators now will have the DRS on Malthreads. Malthreads has enough battery to defend with 53, but Zantators will now be a serious threat. New fastest lap goes to him, then it goes to Pink Eye. What about Lewis? Will he snatch the fastest lap? No, he won't. So Pink Eye on a 121.9, new fastest lap of this race thus far, and these times will keep dropping as this track evolution comes into play. This track will get blistering quick with every single passing lap. Zantators has DRS on Threads. Pink Eye has DRS on Zantators. Not this time around, he's not, although he is 8 tenths behind him. What about Marty and True Loki? This is the time for Marty to strike. As he's in the slip, he's in the toe. DRS wide open, dumping battery all the way. And before they go into turns 4, he retakes P5. Loki has to concede for P6. But what a great race it has been from Loki thus far. Not putting a single foot wrong and just being caught out with the double stack down at Alfa Romeo. Zantadis is gaining for all his might on Malthreeds. Malthreeds will now really start to feel the pressure with 9 laps of racing remaining. Zantadis is in smelling distance of Malthreeds as they go into 15. Into 16 they go now. Both of them taking similar lines. Foot to the floor, up the gears we go. The start of lap 27. Zantadis, pink eye with the new fastest lap. DRS will be activated. Malthreeds seems to have a significant amount of top line speed that will not help him this time around. The man who started on pole position, who dropped to the back of the grid with contact made with Marty in the first lap, who was 38 seconds down the pace of the race leader, is back leading the race up in lap 27. Zantadis, get in. He's the new race leader of this Grand Prix. He led in lap 1. He leads again in lap 27. Malthreeds will now have to do everything in his power to stay in DRS touching distance with Zantadis. Otherwise, he will risk losing the position to Pink Eye, who is limping on battery. He's got 42% to his disposal threads. Zantadis is absolutely flying, upping the pace, trying to get out of DRS range. As he makes his way down turn 17. He's 1 second clear of Malthreeds. Malthreeds still, luckily, has DRS just to help him that little bit extra. Bacardi retires in the pits. That is an end to a very disappointing race to Bacardi. He just runs out of straight and he cannot make the position stick. He will have DRS down the second straight now. It's going to be Malthreeds versus Zantadis. Malthreeds gets out of the tow. He retakes the lead of the race. Zantadis has to concede, but he knows he's got 0.75 miles of straight once they start the 29th lap, and he is in contention to win this Grand Prix because Threads still has that 3-second penalty that he needs to deal with. Kirst is going at it with Marv at the very back of the pack, fighting for the last championship point for this race. Kirst runs a little bit too deep, and now Marv retakes P10, but Kirst will have a little bit of a helping of DRS himself, and don't mind if I do, he says, goes back up into P10, but Marv will have the inside line. Kirst forced to go the long way around, almost making contact. Marv runs a little bit deep, but he keeps it on track, and he stays in P10. Now going down the main straight, Marv versus Zantadis. Zantadis is gaining. He's gaining. He's gaining. Will he run out of straight? No, he won't. And he retakes the lead of the race. But now, late on the brakes, is Malthreeds. What a great move from him. He stays P1, but now runs a little bit too narrow, gets a little bit of oversteer. And now Zantadis comes home with a great exit, but he will run out of straight. What great defending it is from Threads. But while they're battling it out, Pink Eye says, if I catch you napping, I will take the inside, and he retakes P2. What a great move that was from none other than Pink Eye. Brilliant stuff. Zantadis trying to sneak the overtaking opportunity, being defended off by Malthreeds. It opens up the door very wide for Pink Eye, and Pink Eye now back up into P2. It's all happening down here in Mexico. As Malthreeds gets a little bit of wheel spin, that will surely compromise his entry into turns 12 and 13, going through 14 and 15. Now, it's going to be a race down the main straight, and we have seen so many race leads being exchanged down this main straight. Pink Eye does have DRS to defend Zantadis off, but Zantadis seems to have great top line speed. Will they get the overtake done? It's 2 abreast going into turns 1. Pink Eye leads the race. Pink Eye retakes P1 as Threads and Zantadis makes contact, and Pink Eye disappears into the sunset. Now Lewis goes through, retakes P2. Pink Eye, 2.9 seconds clear. And he says thank you very much. Xantatus will be fuming at that one. Second time contact was made, and with 6 seconds to go and a gap of 2.8 seconds and a little bit of time to build up that energy pack for the last lap, he leads the Grand Prix, none other than Pink Eye. Lewis retakes P2, Threads now in P3, and Xantatus, who was leading no less than 2 laps ago, drops to P4. Marty still 5.6 seconds down the road, having his own little race at the moment. As they go into 16, into 17, now Threads will be vulnerable. He does not have any battery to defend with, nor DRS. The rear wing will open up, and you will see that gap getting ever so slightly closer. And before they head into one, Xantatus retakes the podium position of this race. But of course, he's 3.3 seconds down the road of Pink Eye. He will have to catch Pink Eye with more than half a second every single lap if he wants the chance to win this Grand Prix. And while he is dumping battery, Pink Eye seems to be saving. Lewis also has 46% battery to his disposal, enough to try and defend off a very quick Xantatus. Lifts on the throttle, attacks the apex on entry and exit. Going through turn 7, 8, 9, now through 10. Flat out through 11 he goes, keeps it very well on track. And now it's going to be a very short run with DRS going into turns 13, into turns 12. Takes a beautiful racing line, and he's already closing that gap that Pink Eye has. He's gained on Pink Eye by over a second alone on this lap. And if he can keep this pace up, he will surely catch Pink Eye. That gap was 3.5 seconds a couple of corners ago. Now that gap is down to 2 seconds, but he's dumping battery all the way. Pink Eye on 17, Lewis on 16, Xantatus on 9, Threads on 12. All of them having the same amount of battery to their disposal. Loki still stuck in P6. Still a great race from him. Just finding himself in a little bit of no man's land, not racing anyone or being hunted by anyone. Loki can come home for some good points down here in Mexico tonight. But now, back in striking distance, 1.5 seconds away from Pink Eye is Threads. Lewis needs to stick with Pink Eye and use this DRS and ERS as best he can to stay in P2. He does have that penalty that he needs to deal with, 3 seconds worth of time penalties. Can Lewis still finish in the podium positions? As we now go into 16 and 17, Lewis is in touching distance of the Pink Eye. Both of them equal on battery, none of them dumping. Lewis is gaining, he's gaining. Xantatus is on the charge. Lewis will go for the inside line going into one, but Pink Eye takes a little bit of a better line. This will now definitely compromise the exit of Lewis. He gets a lot of oversteer, and thank you very much, says Xantatus. Xantatus gets a very easy overtake done due to Lewis getting a little bit of oversteer and messing up his entry into turns 3 and 4. Now battling it out. It's going to be the battle between Pink Eye and Xantatus. As things stand at the moment, your new championship leader is going to be Xantatus. He just goes onto the brakes. Going into 16 and 17 now. It's going to be the battle between Xantatus and Pink Eye. Second and third in the Drivers' Championship fight as Xantatus blasts his way down the main straight. Not too far away from them is Lewis in P3. Xantatus retakes the lead of the race once more, but he seems to have bad luck leading races. He led in lap 1, he made contact. He led in lap 27, he made contact. He's now leading once again in lap 34. Will there be contact for a third time and potentially ruin his entire race? Time will tell. It's the third time Xantatus is leading the Grand Prix down here tonight. He's did it in 1. He's did it in 27. He did it in... almost spins out it. He did it in 34. He needs to keep it on track. As Xantatus now makes his way through the final couple of bends, keeps it beautifully on track. 5 bends down the road is Pink Eye. Both of them are basically equal on battery. No, they're not. Xantatus on 20%, Pink Eye on 30%. And as they now go into the penultimate corner, we will have 2 laps of racing remaining for the Mexican Grand Prix. Pink Eye struggles with acceleration on the exit of turn 17. That will make him a little bit vulnerable, but he's still in touching distance with DRS. Behind him is none other than Lewis. And Lewis still sticking with him. That penalty will come back toward Lewis because he's definitely in contention to fight for the race win. If anything has to happen with these two out in front, Pink Eye just backs out. It's going to be a battle. And I do not think Pink Eye will go for the overtaking opportunity. Will he? Yes, he will. I have been wrong before. Now, was that the smartest move? Because with 1 lap of racing remaining, Xantatus will have 3 DRS zones to try and retake the lead. And the best overtaking opportunity for Xantatus, I believe, will come down the main straight. 0.75 miles. That separates him and the first corner from potentially retaking the lead of the race. He's 2 tenths behind. A blistering quick Pink Eye as we now head into the 90-degree corner of turns 12. Xantatus right up on the rear of Pink Eye. He's got 30% battery. Pink Eye has got 40%. And he will have to use every ounce of battery to his disposal as they go into turn 16. Now the final corner. Both getting a beautiful exit, and let the hunt begin. It's Pink Eye versus Xantatus. Lewis not too far off the pace. Both of them dumping battery for all their might. He's gaining. Will he make the overtake stick? Going into 1. Xantatus retakes the lead of the race. Pink Eye late on the brakes. He will have the inside line, but running narrow, he compromises his exit, which means Xantatus gets a good exit, but Pink Eye using the last little bit of his energy. Who will take the lead of the race? Going into turn 6, going into turns 4. Pink Eye defends off Xantatus. Oh, light contact was made, and there's 1 more DRS zone for Xantatus to get the race win as they now head in to turn 7. Dab on the accelerator. Now through 7, flat out through 8, flat out through 9. It's a hunt going into 10, flat out through 11. Who got the better exit? Dumping battery. Now it's a short run that separates them from the potential race win. Second for Pink Eye, third for Xantatus. Xantatus pushed wide. He will have the inside. He backs out, which means we see the fireworks going off. There's 1 more corner to go. He comes cruising through 16, flat out through 17. And for the second time this season, it's not over till it's over. Pink Eye wins the Mexican Grand Prix. What a great end to a fabulous battle between Pink Eye. Xantatus comes home in P2. Lewis comes home in P3, followed by Marty in P4. Malthreads goes home for P5. What a great race that was from True Loki, who comes home in P6. Stead crosses the line for P7. Utkar comes home for P8, followed by Marv, Carrie Cass, and Kirst. We waiting to round off the grid. But what an absolute brilliant battle. Xantatus had 3 DRS opportunities to try and get past a blistering quick Pink Eye, who defended for all his might, who did a great job, compromised his exit, going into turns 10 and 11, who had almost opened up the door for Xantatus In turns 12, Xantatus sniffed around the inside, going into 13 and 14, but just backed out because he saw contact would have been made, which means going into 16 and 17, for the second time in PVR history, Pink Eye is a race winner in Mexico. He joins Xantatus up in the leaderboards for most race wins down in PVR history. Xantatus with 2 race wins. Pink Eye, he joins the top of the table with 2 race wins himself, making his way down to the top step of the podium, waving the English flag. What a proud win that was for none other than Pink Eye. He's on the top step of the podium, and why not? He deserves to be. What a great race and a great patient race it was from Pink Eye. Joining him on the podium will be an extremely quick Captain Consistency, Xantatus, who's been on the podium every single race since he started PVR. And what a great race it was from Lewis, who joins them on the podium. Going to your final classifications, it's going to be Pink Eye, who comes home in P1. 25 points coming his way. Followed is going to be Xantatus, who gave him an absolute battle all the way to the finish line. They were separated by 1/10 of a second, separated P2 from P1. Lewis comes home in P3, and I have to say, after a very, very clean and very respectful drive, my driver of the day will be going to none other than Lewis from Alfa Romeo. Marty, damage limitations from him. He's going to have to settle for P4. He's not going to be the championship leader after this race, but we'll have to wait and see if there is going to be any queries between Xantatus and Marty with that lap 1 incident, and can that P4 potentially change into a P5, 6, 7 or 8? Time will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings the end to another great race. What an absolute fabulous race it was from your man down in England, race winner, 2-time race winner in PVR history. He joined Xantatus at the top of the charts. 2 race wins each, and the championship hunt will continue. Pink Eye, who's 9 points shy of Marty on 90 points, really did himself a big favor coming home in P1 for this, to keep his championship fights alive. On to the next, and I cannot wait to see how this season will unravel. Congratulations to all your podium sitters. It's going to be Pink Eye P1, great racing from Xantatus P2, and driver of the day, none other than it's going to be Lewis. Great race from him. Everybody from the PVR community, it's been a pleasure as always hosting and commentating on this great league. And until we meet again, I'm Imola, signing out once more.